What's up, Blazionaires and Blazionettes? So, since it's October, I just felt like I'm in the mood to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, Halloween. So why don't I just, do this review? So here we go. Now, I have to say this sadly was not my introduction to the horror genre. I really wish it was, but um, but it helped make me a bigger fan of the horror genre, at least or what the horror genre was of the slasher genre. And I loved how this movie paved the way to horror movies to like what it was back in that time, like what in the 80s and the 90s, mainly in the 80s. Um, I mean, like, yeah, you had Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, but this movie right here really knocked down really burst the dam, and then the flood just came through, and then you have all these movies that are inspired by this movie, like all these other horror movies that are inspired, that are inspirations. Or this movie is an inspiration to these other movies like Prom Night and Friday the 13th, and the list goes on. And also what was another one? Another one. I think April Fool's Day or something. I think they did one for that too. I didn't really see that one, but it's crazy, like that. Like this started, like something really fresh and new, like much like Paranormal Activity did. It's a low budget independent movie, and it took a long way for it to get to where it was into the major leagues, and then one I guess one person says, like one well-known person like Roger Ebert and Steven Spielberg said something positive about it, and then poof, everybody wants to see it. So they basically put the movies where they were, like I said, with Roger Ebert with Halloween and Steven Spielberg with Paranormal Activity. So and then from there on, the only difference with Halloween and Paranormal Activity is that it didn't, like Halloween didn't really try to milk out the franchise in a way, or at least not right away, like much like how Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street did, like where they just kept making sequel, like almost every year, and also it has, with that all being said, it has very little flaws. I mean, and on top of that, at least for me personally, like Michael Myers is probably the scariest of them all because this dude does not die. I mean, like every other horror, villain, like Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. Well, after the first four, Friday the 13th movies, where Jason is dead and then he comes back to life, zombie Jason, and Freddy's just a supernatural like nightmare creature, like in your dreams, and where you kill him in your dreams, and then somehow he comes back to life. They die in the movie, and they somehow come back in another movie. With the Halloween movies, they play it off to where Michael can come back at any time, where you can say, yeah, you thought we killed him, but no, he survived that. Like, it's like he survived almost everything that happened to him in every movie, and it's redunculous. So that makes him the scariest one of them all, in my opinion. And let's see here. And the opening scene, though, like I love how it was all like in one shot, like where he's walking around the house, looking through the window, and then he eventually makes his way into the house, grabs a knife, puts on the clown mask. Sister's boyfriend leaves, and then he walks up the stairs and stabs her to death, and then that whole sequence from where he gets into the house and gets right back out of the house and gets busted by his parents, like that was done pretty cleverly, I should say. And probably the bloodiest most, yeah, I'd say the bloodiest death in the movie. Any other time it's like in the dark, and you don't really need to see like a whole lot of it. You just, that just makes it more horrifying. And what makes this movie more horrifying is that you don't know when Michael's gonna make his move. I mean, you see him working in the bushes, and you see him standing at the window, standing at the doorway and stuff, but you're like, when is this dickhead gonna kill somebody? Like, like where you're getting really uncomfortable just seeing him standing there because you don't know if he's gonna make a move or not. It just makes you real uncomfortable where he's there and then he's not, and then the person goes where he's at, and then you don't know if he's gonna pop out and whatnot, and when he finally does, it's just like, oh, your soul jumps out of your body. But so I mean, yeah, like when I was really young, like every time a movie would end, like where it leaves an opening for another one, I would say, well, you got to make another one. You left the opening. Come on, fill in those gaps. But nowadays, now that I'm older, I'm like, it's a coin toss. Either it can be a really good idea, or it can be a really bad idea where the movie should have been left well enough alone. And if they did that, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea, even though like most of their sequels were not mistakes to me. Like they were done, I guess they were done better than how all these other horror sequels were done in other franchises. But yeah, I mean, if this was just one movie, I would be fine with that. Even though I would have loved to see what would happen, like that night after, the way it ended. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see what happened from there, and oh my gosh, I mean, like this is, like definitely like after so many years, like it's going on what, I guess what almost about like 40 years now, I think, and it still holds up after all these years, and it's still a satisfying, satisfying movie to me. And the theme, I gotta say, I love the Halloween theme, and it's not the same. It is just not the same as it was in the first movie than like when you hear it again in other movies to come, like in other sequels. It just doesn't have that same feel to it, like the way the first movie does. But it's still, it still, leaves a place in your heart. Either it can be in a really good way, like where you're a fan, or in a bad way, like where it's meant to send chills down your spine. I think it's the best of both worlds for me. So with that all being said, this gets, I'd say this gets 5 chair spins out of 5. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solid chair spins. Now that was worth it. So, yeah, so, I mean, like, this is, a great franchise. I would recommend it. I own almost every freaking movie. I mean, except for part 3. And like with my attitude is like, as long as Michael Myers is in it doing his thing, then the movie's gonna be great. But I'll tell you the one movie that proved me wrong on that, like in another video. So yeah. So I mean, like they didn't drop the ball on this franchise until like much later, further down, like I'd say after H2O, then that's when they dropped the ball after that. But yeah, other than that, it's been solid. It held up, for like as long as any other franchise, in my opinion. Even though the other franchises, like with their sequels were entertaining, but they just didn't have that same effect that the first movies, the predecessors, did. You know what I mean? But this, however, it doesn't have, like it has enough there, like where you can be satisfied. But I don't know. I mean, like it's just different from the other franchises. So yeah, I mean, like Halloween. So feel free to tell me what you thought about it. And yeah, so Halloween's around the corner. You got these fucking clowns who like clown sightings who are in the woods, working around just like Michael Myers, and it's just ridiculous. And now you see how it has that scare factor, like like when you see him, standing in the woods and stuff. Now that this is happening, you see footage and clowns and stuff, and it's just like, oh man, I mean, like it all goes back to Halloween. Damn it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed my review, make sure you thumb up the video and make sure you click subscribe if you're new to the channel. And thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.